Hello again, I am Blunty. So, one of the tools of hunting we have is our slinger. We can harvest stuff from a distance, which that's new to the game. Couldn't do that with slinger before. Because MHwilds had a slinger which was similar but different to this one. So yeah, keep an eye on stuff you're riding by and you can use your slinger real quick to pick stuff up. Good things to know. Now then, the reason I bring up the slinger is because in MHwilds, and specifically MHwilds Iceborne, the expansion, they introduced a mechanic called the Clutch Claw, which used the slinger claw thingy to attach to a monster and then do some tenderizing.
Hit a monster with your clutch claw to cling onto it. This is going to be important, so pay attention. If you're struggling to land a solid hit because the monster's hide is too thick, here's your answer. There, stop moving. Grapple on. Good. Now attack with your weapon. That's it. Nice work. Let's move on.
Whoops. Oh geez, look out. And a lot of people didn't like that mechanic because of how it works. I'm not going to go into it here. If you know, you know. If you don't know, don't worry about it. Just know that it was a controversial feature that a lot of people resented, feeling like they had to use, instead of it being an optional thing in combat to let them attack things how they want to attack things. The monster I was going to demonstrate on has disappeared into the void of the sand. Death. Just go find someone else. Now, the main bone of contention, the big complaint, the go-to phrasing for why people don't like the clutch claw mechanics when they arrived in Iceborne, again, basically revolved around feeling like you had to use it to make the, late and endgame fights practical. And complaints that these fights were built around necessitating using this mechanic to soften up or tenderize parts of the monster and use flint shots and things like that. And you may be wondering why people are complaining about having to use a mechanic which makes the fights easier. It's basically because people don't like being forced to fight a certain way. They want to fight how they want to fight. They've got their fighting style. They've got the chosen weapon. And many felt like having to interrupt your flow in order to use the clutch claw, to do your tenderizing, to do your flinch shots. It interfered with the flow of the fight, having to stop and do this and then return to your regular combos and rotations and approaches and things like that. And people who complained the loudest about the clutch claw, these are the things they cited. And, I get it. I never felt like it was that much of an imposition. I very rarely used the clutch claw in my fights and I still got on just fine. I'm not saying they're wrong to complain about the clutch claw. Everyone has their own personal taste when it comes to certain, game mechanics. That's fine. But, just for context, this is what we're talking about. So, in MHwilds, we do not have the clutch claw, but we do have a mechanic that kind of replaces it in some ways, in that it also serves to weaken the monster and expose opportunities for extra damage. And it is the wound system. When you press your target mode, which is your right trigger, it will highlight any wounds. I'm doing it right now. There are no wounds on this guy, as you can see. So let's see if we can open up some wounds here, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. And here's where we get to the first important difference between these two systems. Opening a wound only requires you attacking the same spot on a monster repeatedly. So unlike the Clutch Claw Tenderizing, this happens naturally during the regular combat flow. There was no interruption here in order to trigger this weak spot. Alright, so I just poked a little damage, and you can see on his arm there's a big scar on his right arm. That's a hint there's a wound. So if we press the focus mode now, you can see it glows bright red. And as you can see up the top right hand corner there's a focus slash option in my weapon guide. That is how we do a special kind of attack to that wounded damage. Now, some weapons have a huge incentive for bursting wounds using the focus slash. They power up. So, for example, the charge blade I'm using, I get access to a spinning axe mode if I burst that wound. So let's go for that. There's my focus strike. And there's my special move. And from now on in, I've got that move available to me until its charge runs out, basically. And it is an extremely valuable thing, because as you can see, it does nice little piles of damage. And it looks cool, very dramatic and stuff. So, a lot of the weapons have things like that where they really want priority to those wounds to activate whatever special ability or charge or shortcut to combos and things like that. Now, some people are worried that the focus mechanic is going to be required or feel like it's required, like the Clutch Claw was. It's not. I mean, you do want to do that. There's another one on his back there. So you do want to do that with many weapons, but maybe you don't. Maybe you just want to play normally. Maybe you feel like feeling forced to use a focus mode attack ruins your flow in battle. Well, you don't have to worry about that. What you can do in any case is just use the wound. I can't get to it. It keeps turning around. Just use the wound as a regular weak spot, and you will just do extra damage. Regardless of that, and eventually when you do enough damage to that wound, it will burst on its own. See that little crit there? Burst of 10 damage. That was because of the wound. There we go, 11 again. So every time I hit that... Oh, for fuck's sake. Stop turning around so I can show people, would you? Oh my god. He's not being cooperative. So yeah, every time we hit that wound, even when I bounce, I get bonus crit damage. Eventually, you're going to do enough damage to that wound, and it will burst, and it will cause a mini stagger to the monster, just as if you'd burst it with the focus strike. So no, you are not required to use the focus strikes to take advantage of these wounds, but you are encouraged to, because there are several benefits in doing so. But, you know, just like the Clutch Claw, like, I very rarely use the Clutch Claw for tenderizing. The only real downside of not using the tenderizing mechanic on most monsters in Iceborne was the hunt took slightly longer than it would have anyway. But I can't see any reason not to just use the focus strikes every now and again. Like, it's not as if you have to use them all the time. And even when you're not using focus strikes specifically, you can use the focus mode to aim your weapon, which gives you a little more accuracy for certain types of attacks. And again, not essential. You can just play regularly like you always have done. Manually aim your attacks like you always have done. It's just the focus mode gives you another option. So if you hear someone out there... Oops, I got that set wrong. If you hear someone out there whining about how they feel forced to use focus modes or forced to use focus strikes, that's just horseshit. I've done entire hunts in the beta without ever touching a focus strike, just to prove it can be done. And while I haven't done any side-by-side timings of it, it doesn't really feel that much slower than a regular fight. But of course, with the focus strikes, get extra style points. Anyway, Doshu Gamer has kind of interrupted my demonstration here. Nope, you going? You going? He's going. Alright, off we go. So anyway, yeah, that's the deal with focus strikes. Hopefully that makes sense to you. I like them a lot more than the Clutch Claw attacks. Actually, while we're here, another thing you do while you're on a monster, you can do little stabby stabs, and they will open up wounds as well. And they are exactly the same as the regular focus strike wounds, except you can also press your right shoulder button to do a finishing attack on those wounds as you're mounted. There was, of course, a very similar mounting mechanic in World, but World did not open up wounds. Well, wounds weren't a thing, but it didn't create tenderizing spots. But you did wind up with the similar kind of stagger around once you did your finishing move, so long as you didn't run out of stamina. So that's very, very similar, except in Wilds now, you also create those new wounds. And these are wounds that are very hard to create with most weapons normally, because, well, they're on the back of the monster. And these are wounds you can really capitalize on when you get the topple the monster when they go down, because that's usually the only opportunity to reach those wounds if you're not playing a particularly aerial style weapon like the Insect Clay, for example. So all that folds into the flow of combat a lot better as well. Right, so that was convenient. Yeah, now we've dealt with all the different ways the wounds can behave themselves. So I'm just gonna leave that guy alone. I've bullied him enough. I bullied enough Chattercabra in the demo, so I'm just gonna demo beta, not demo beta. Secret, hello, buddy, come on, here boy. I have this trouble in Rise as well. Sometimes the Palamutes would just take way too long to come to you when you whistle. Hopefully they fix that. They fixed it in Rise. You fix that in this as well. So when I call for my mount, I get my mount. Anyway, thanks for watching. I am Blunty. Hopefully you found this useful and interesting. And hopefully it wasn't too rambly. I'm working without a script here. Don't know if that was the best plan, but I feel like I got all the important information across. Looking so much forward to playing the full game. So much. Did I say thanks for watching already? Thanks for watching. I'm Blunty. Catch you next time. Thank you to the patrons. Happy hunting.